and we're looking there.
Yes, you can look in the camera. Or at me. Or, yeah. Imanai Kushanki, Sumak Punchai, good morning and hello. We are here live with Cultural Survival in the Indigenous Media Zone. Nyokak Sutin Mayak Chuda Chipana. My name is Mayak Chuda Chipana and I am here today with Catherine. So Catherine, Sumak Punchai, good morning. May you please introduce yourself, where you're from?
Kia ora, good morning. My name is Catherine Murupaenga-Ikenn, and I'm coming from the Māori peoples of Ngāti Kuri and Te Raroa in Aotearoa. That's the coloniser name is New Zealand. People might know that, but New Zealand.
Wonderful. And how has your journey been to come here to the United Nations? What seems like a very far travel. So I would like to hear about the travel, the trip to here, and the message that you felt was important and that you wanted to share here at the United Nations Permanent Forum on Indigenous Issues.
Thank you. Yes. Well, first, I'd like to thank the United Nations Voluntary Fund that enabled us to come and participate. And I'd also like to pay respects to the tangata whenua, we call them the Indigenous peoples of these lands and territories, also for enabling us to be here as well. Many issues have brought me here. For all of my adult life, I've been a defender in some way or another. It's not really something you train to do. It's just something you're kind of born into, as many Indigenous peoples will be familiar with. At the moment, in Aotearoa, we have a government that has triggered the Māori nation into sovereignty building. Many of our Māori leaders have publicly come out and said the government is now our enemy. The New Zealand government has attempted to wind back many of the environmental and ecological advancements that we have in Aotearoa at the moment. They also are attempting to rewrite the founding documents of our nation, Te Tiriti o Waitangi. In Te Tiriti, Māori sovereignty is guaranteed. The control and protection of all things that we value, our forests, our lands, our fisheries, and even intangibles like culture and language, that is protected under this internationally legally binding instrument, Te Tiriti o Waitangi. And the government wants to rewrite that and say we ceded sovereignty. It's actually a lie that has been propagandised against the whole of the New Zealand public for over 184 years. Te Tiriti was signed between Māori chiefs and the British Crown in 1840, and since that time the lie has been on the government, the Crown side, that we ceded sovereignty, and we did not. So I actually am facing criminal charges right now for an action I participated in December to defend the truth and to take down the lie. I could speak more about that, but the interesting part about that was there were non-Māori participating in that direct activism. We don't want to talk about protest, we want to talk about something affirmative. It was an arty kind of action that we did, and for that, and we had allies with us who were non-Māori, but only 2 Māori, myself and one other, were arrested and are facing criminal charges. So you might say that's racist. You can look at it how you want. So there's that sort of thing. So that's just one theme around why I've come here to the Permanent Forum this year.
Thank you. Not sure if this is on, but I think our voices are loud enough.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can talk loud.
Yeah, we have loud voices, so we will do it like that. So my next question was, when I was reading about your very interesting artivism and history and life, I saw that you had a law degree. So I was wondering if you can share about the journey to get your law degree, and more importantly, why you thought or why you think and believe that it was and is important for you as an Indigenous person to follow that train of law, that track of law. Is it working?
Sorry, do we need to?
Okay.
We need.
No, we don't need mic. It's okay.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
Technical difficulties. Speaking of technical difficulties, so I was the first in my family to get a university degree, a tertiary degree. And it was interesting that when I would, I'd go away to university, which was some hours distance from my home, my village. I'd come back in the holidays and I'd let people know that that's what I was doing, going to law school. Some people thought I was joking, my own people, some of my own people. And that showed like an attitude, like, oh, a little girl from this little village can't go to a university. What are we not smart enough as Indigenous peoples? What are we, we don't have prospects in life that we can aspire to be a lawyer. I found that very interesting psychologically. So I had to educate my own people and say, you can do anything and you should do something, don't just settle for whatever life you have, aspire to something bigger and higher. So the only way I was able to complete my law degree was with the help of a sponsor. So I had a couple of scholarships, education scholarships, and I also had the support of my grandmother and my father and my sister, and like my grandmother would go every weekend to a local flea market. She'd sell her jams and her bread, and she would make a little bit of money, and she'd always send me every week that little bit of money, and that helped get me through my education. But I was compelled. I came out of high school. I like had photos of all my peers in my classroom and stuff, and I would scratch out who had fallen off and failed to complete their high school education, or some of the girls had gotten pregnant at a young age. I said, that's not going to be me. That's not going to be me. And so I was really, I had to go and get out of the village to be something better, so I could contribute to the world, because I wasn't happy just being mediocre. And I attribute my father to that too, because he was big on education. He was actually a teacher until he passed away at my high school, a music teacher. So I couldn't play up. I think that was a lucky star. He was always hovering around at the high school. I couldn't play up. I had to go to every class. I had to, be very good. And so, at the time as a teenager, I probably thought that was, oh, my dad's here and he's always keeping an eye on me. But, it got me to where I am today. So I'm grateful for all of that. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And it's truly inspiring. My next question is about the topic and theme for this Indigenous Peoples Permanent Forum, and how it has to do with self-determination and supporting Indigenous youth. And I would like to ask you what that topic or theme, how it relates to what is happening in your homelands, and what Indigenous youth empowerment looks like, and how it can be further supported in your homelands.
So let's start with we call them rangatahi or taiohi, the youth. Look, the moment now is epic. It's existential, and if the world doesn't wake up to the fact that we need to protect, Mother Earth and our environment, humanity is done for. It's over. And it's the youth, I feel so much aroha for, because they should now be enjoying their young years. They should be out, with their peers, learning, looking overseas, or, just enjoying life, learning from the elders, cultural things from our home. Instead, they're having to grow up super, super fast and be defenders. Now, that's not fair. Their world is in decline. They may not even have a future to survive in, let alone thrive in. It's not fair. But so we're asking so much of them to be leaders at such a young age, but they do have to be. So one thing we could that might assist, because we know a lot of this is political decision making. The politicians have gone mad. They're crazy. But still, we need to work the political space. And one way to help the youth would be to lower the voting age to 16 years. To lower the voting age to 16 years. They deserve a voice. They deserve a voice. Like in back at home in Aotearoa, the youngest politician is a Māori woman. I think she's only 22 years of age.
I saw that online.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, this is what I mean. We need young people in these spaces, because the old dinosaurs' day is done. We need to get them out and get young people in. That's the first thing I would say. The other thing is, so in terms of sovereignty, I just feel we have been in dialogue. Conventional channels of diplomacy does not work to protect our sovereignty. We keep getting promises from, officials and nation states, the UN system. If it had worked, we wouldn't be here in a crisis. You know what I mean? So that fact alone says, we need to get out of the system. And that's what I am calling on Indigenous peoples to do. Boycott the UN system, and let's create our own united Indigenous nations system. If we don't, everything will be gone. I'm telling you, it's corrupt. I used the word fascistic in the UN hall this week, because what we have is in all these different UN agencies, like you've got the Food and Agricultural Organization, they've got big ag is in there, controlling the dialogue. In the World Health Organization, you've got Big Pharma in there, controlling the dialogue. And might I say, these agencies are basically creating another layer of sovereignty steel for Indigenous peoples, but for the whole world. It's Orwellian. All of civil society has to rise up. Indigenous peoples can't do this alone. We need civil society to come with us, beside us, and work together to protect our human rights. Every UN agency should have policies audited for human rights compliance or lack thereof. And I tell you, it's more lack than compliance. I just heard, I got this button here. You know what they're trying to do now? The International Monetary Fund is trying to commodify the whales to incorporate them into the emissions trading carbon credit scheme. What are they going to do? Take the very air that we're breathing and saying you have to pay for that? What's going on? It's insanity. You cannot negotiate with insane people. That's it. Done. End of story. So, and attached to that, I would say we need metaphysical activism, right? All this activism we've been doing for our lives, and I've got trauma. I've got trauma from my parents and grandparents who have been battling right back. It's not working. And I think the world, like the general population has lost their connection with nature. That's a very common idea now. We're hearing it a lot. We need more metaphysical activism, and we know now that even science corroborates what Indigenous peoples have known forever. The basis of reality is spiritual. The basis of reality is consciousness. The basis of reality is metaphysical. That is where creation happens. We co-create with the supernatural ancestors. That's what Māori believe. We are divine sparks. We have the co-creative power. So why aren't we using it at a spiritual level? We come here, but this is all just bricks and mortar and structure and constriction, and it's the colonizer's rules. We're being deferential to the colonizer. It's not going to work. It's not being sovereign. The highest sovereign is the spiritual sovereign. So as Indigenous peoples, I would like to see us get together and even bring in the scientists who talk quantum physics, unified field theory, holographic theory, fractal universe theory. They're saying the same thing as us. Get in the religious faith-based group leaders. Now I know we've got problems historically with the faith-based religions. We know that, but we have to get together in the same room so we can corroborate our narratives and say, the nature of reality is metaphysical. Metaphysical activism is what's going to save us now. We can't go whack-a-moling all of these everything agencies that are doing us a disservice and killing Mother Earth. It's impossible.
Yeah, well, thank you, Catherine. And, the microphone did not work 2 minutes in maybe, but I think you were the only person here that actually did not need one. And I say that in the best way. So thank you, Pachi, for your strong voice, for your people, for your palabras, for your words. And we will be sharing more information on how you can learn more about Catherine and support also the Maori youth. Kia ora.
Kia ora.
Kia ora.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.